Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on this busy Thursday morning, anticipating the NFL opener tonight. We've got a huge weekend of college football on tap. Bison are hosting Tennessee State coming up on Saturday. Preview that coming up later on in the show. The Gophers are back at home this weekend. They've got an FCS team as well, as Rhode Island's coming in, and we haven't had our next guest on in forever, so it's good to chat with him anytime to talk Gopher football, anything Fargo South related. I'm sure we can throw things at the Fargo Flash. Justin Conzemius joins us here. I'm looking here because South has who do they have this weekend? They are playing, let's see, Dickinson. You ever played Dickinson during your time?
We did.
Yeah.
We had our biggest battles actually early in my career at Fargo South was Dickinson. We'd road trip to Dickinson.
Woo.
So, and I will admit we had a game my sophomore year. We had a game against them in the semifinals. I think down probably 21 going into the fourth quarter. Recovered an onside kick late in that game, scored the go-ahead touchdown to come back and beat them. And they had the Carlson brothers that played at NDSU. They were a tough competitor. But we did make a run. In my 3 years there, we played them at least 4 times, and we went 4-0.
There you go. You got bragging rights there. Road trip there. That's not a quick roadie.
No, we got home about 5 a.m.
There you go. It's great to see you, but there's a bunch of things I want to chat about. But give me your overview on Game 1 with the Max Brosmer experience for the Gophers last week.
I was bummed out. I really felt it was a game that, was a bit of a must win for us just to set up a really solid 2024 with the expanded Big Ten. Max had significant improvements that you could see through practice from last spring to this summer and pre-fall camp. But when you look, you don't really know, Dom, what you got until you're firing live bullets. And I said it year in and year out. And so I think I was hoping to see a little bit more from Max, given what we'd seen in practice in that first game. But that doesn't mean it's not there. We just didn't see it in Game 1. So we're going to see Max be a bit more calm starting this week. We got to see, I think, PJ in our offense take some more shots downfield a little bit. Part of that's the defenders being tight last week with North Carolina. Also, part of it starts up front. The offense line had a bad day. Yeah, lots of pressure, 5 sacks, a number of just pressure situations. So first and foremost, you got to give him time. And then downfield, you got to create separation. You do those 2 things, you give yourself a better chance for him to be successful. But I think there's some better football in front of him, but we got to see that starting this Saturday.
I watched Brosmer a bit, Justin, at New Hampshire last year, so I knew a bit about him heading in. Where did you see through his time when he got here, through spring ball and through fall camp, to say the kind of qualities you need as a Gopher quarterback?
Well, he's the type of quarterback that I think is a good, takes care of the football. But he also, he's not going to be some guy that's going to come back and use a big arm and be downfield 3 or 4 times a game. He's going to take a shot 1 or 2 times. He's going to be a really efficient guy, 20 yards and underneath. Look at his game last year. This is a bit of a revenge this week as we play Rhode Island. Yeah. Last year, he lost to Rhode Island in overtime, but he was 41-60, right? But when you go back and watch that film, he's not taking 20-yard plus shots downfield. It's a lot of, tight ends in the flat. It's a lot of stuff underneath. It's screen passes to running backs. And that's not a bad thing. It kind of keeps the defense back on their heels. And we got to see more of that. Like, I think last week, PJ made the comment, I think we actually called 30 pass plays. I think we threw it 21 times. That shows you the amount of pressure in the breakdowns in the passing game.
Darius Taylor, any closer to getting back? What do you know?
I think he's healthy, but at the same time, when I'm looking ahead to the rest of the year, we know what Darius can do. I love what Marcus Major has brought. Yeah. We saw Marcus Major early in camp and said, it's 1A and 1B. And I'm being serious. As much as Darius, if we've fallen in love with him early in his career, Marcus Major makes the decision to come to a place that loves to run the football. And he's a great running back. He had a great little run at Oklahoma. And so I personally would maybe play him a little bit, I think, in the coming weeks. But I'm really going to save Darius to have that bulk of the carries when you're taking on Iowa, Michigan, USC in consecutive weeks.
Well, I was about to get to that point because you mentioned must win last week, because after this week it's Nevada and they're not very good, so you think you get that one. But then Iowa, Michigan, SC, UCLA, That's a tough stretch, my man. That's not
a
easy.
tough stretch. And I think the Big Ten was mixed in week one. I thought Michigan, I thought Oregon kind of struggled, but at the same time, I thought Iowa, for a team that struggled a bunch on offense, they were slow to start, but had a great finish against, again, an inferior opponent. I thought USC looked a lot better than I expected. And so it's a bit mixed, but you're right. You're going to have to find some momentum here in the next 2 weeks. And then you're going to have a Gopher Iowa game in a couple weeks. It's going to be 9-6. I mean, it's going to be a very low scoring game. But you got to get ready for that. And then you got to go into the big house and take that on. And, there's never been a more important year than to take the PJ Fleck kind of point of view and how you face the season. You got to go 1-0 versus Rhode Island. Yeah. Yep. And that's the way that you have to think about it. It's going to be week by week. You can't get too far ahead of yourself. So take care of business right now. But that schedule we know is going to change. But you just got to build some momentum. So as you get into it, you're healthy. You've done enough things on offense to build confidence. Your defense can kind of get some more confidence. You get the kicking game back. Right. But there's some things that need to be done here before we enter Big Ten play. That's for sure.
Did Jackson Howard play more than you thought or not enough? The LSU transfer coming back home last week.
Yeah, I thought first and foremost, we substituted a lot. I don't know if I liked it. I think sometimes on defense, I think you get a bit carried away in guys being tired or not. That was a really tight game. And in tight games, I need my best players personally on the field a lot. That being said, Jackson Howard and Coy Parrish, there's a lot of guys that are new to Gopher football that are not getting playing time because they're kind of the buzzworthy recruits or transfer kids. These kids can play. I mean, Coy can play, Jackson can play. So Jackson probably got in, my guess is 12 plays, but he's going to play more football here. He's going to have a great career here. We're really lucky that he came back. That being said, he's in an area right now, Dom, we're loaded at the defensive line position, but he's going to be a big-time contributor, that's for sure.
I'm interested, Justin, with the fan base in the Twin Cities, with the expanded Big Ten, with the divisions going away, and I don't know, I doubt the Big Ten is done adding teams, that I'm not saying Gopher football will be irrelevant, but how hard is it to get a lot of attention knowing that it's going to be really hard to crack the top 6, knowing the schools that they just added?
I think it's more competitive than ever, but I think when I think about bringing a USC team here in about a month versus bringing in Northwestern, I want to bring in USC. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if they have a huge alumni base in the Twin Cities, but we got a football brand coming to Huntington Bank Stadium. That's true. Yep. So I love the expanded Big Ten because I think it's making college football, like the NFL, more relevant coast to coast. And I think sometimes, I think sometimes those Pac-12 teams, quite candidly, people like me and you, we geek out in football. So we're, kids are going to bed, we're staying up late watching Pac-12 after dark, but most of the country doesn't do that.
No.
So you have them enter one of the premier college conferences in terms of the other prestigious schools that we have. Now it's interesting. So I think if you're a college football fan and a Gopher fan, I think the games got more interesting. That being said, it got a lot more difficult to be compared to the Big Ten.
Are you bummed or excited that the Gophers aren't playing Nebraska this year?
They look good. I mean, you bring a big time recruit, they look good. Yeah. I think they're dangerous. Yeah. And again, if you want to say it's quick, I think he may have turned that thing, Matt Rule, that quick. Yeah. I think they're good. I think that, and again, NDSU showed it last week, and I was really impressed with NDSU, their quarterback play. So I got a couple calls saying, how did the Bison quarterback not end up at the Gophers? Like he was a big time quarterback last week. And so NDSU, I think, showed that Colorado is still trying to figure some things out. Yeah. I think Nebraska has started to figure out. I think Colorado could go into Lincoln, and I think it could get ugly.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I don't think Colorado's defense is any better than what they were last year. And the way Nebraska played its opener, they looked much better there. I always tap into when I hear there's a Twin Cities kid that's coming this way. There's a couple that are going to likely play for the Bison this week. One I know you know well, in Cade Osterman, who was a Minnesota transfer from Elk River. He's already getting reps, Justin, with the 1s and the 2s. What's his potential? Yeah, what's his potential at wide receiver at NDSU in your mind?
Well, he's a great athlete. I had a chance to play with his dad. His dad was a year older than me. A great wide receiver for the Gophers. Cade is a football junkie. So Cade is, obviously Mr. Football in the state here. ran that, offense that's a run first offense and run only offense at Elk River. But he's an athletic kid. He's got speed, and I think he was just looking for a place that really wanted him. And, I know through my Cade here for the Gophers, like it's not always easy being a walk-on playing Power 5 football. And so Cade wanted a chance to get on the field sooner in his career. He made, he went and called the team that was interested in him. I think he's got great potential, but he's making a position change, right?
Yep.
He's been under center his whole life playing football. And so making that transition is never easy. I don't care if it's FCS, FBS, or Division III. But that being said, that kid's a football junkie. And there's some legit speed, strength, and some just football IQ that you really can't find that often.
There's an offensive lineman that's likely going to get a shot to play this week and make his debut. Minnetonka's Jack Lewinsky. I know you saw him play up close. He's got unbelievable bloodlines as well, since his dad Chris was a Viking. What did you see in high school that the Bison love this kid already?
Oh yeah, Chris, the dad's a great friend of mine. We coached both of our boys together on baseball teams growing up. Jack wasn't maybe the greatest first baseman we had, but when he made contact, man, did that ball fly. But he was the standard here at Minnesota, or at Minnetonka. He truly was the Minnetonka standard. 3-year starter, leadership guy, weight room guy, and then you get on the field, and he was a dude, right? So he was a guy that maybe Division I Power 5 finds him a little undersized. And, I think that's, kind of questionable. I think he's a great football player. So I pull down those press conference notes as well, kind of peeking around to see some of these Minnesota kids and see where they are. And it's exciting for me to see Jack have a chance to play early, because I think he's going to have a nice long career and have a lot of success at ASU. And it's super exciting for the Minnetonka football community to see that. We're excited for Jack.
I know you follow this as well on the recruiting side of things. I thought this past summer that South Dakota State went into the Twin Cities. They went head-to-head with the Bison. They won a couple. The Bison did as well. What did you make of that this summer, of the high-end guys in the Twin Cities, how that played out?
Well, it's interesting. They're both relevant schools. There's a bit of a shifting of the power, right? And candidly, I think all 4 of those Dakota schools are in a much different position. Well, I should say, I think UND and USD are in different positions than when they were 5 years ago. They are legitimate schools. South Dakota State has really stepped it up. And so they're coming in the Twin Cities in a way that North Dakota State did to really build their championship teams. And they're winning some big recruiting battles. The running back that they got last year late in their recruiting process, Max Woods,
oh boy,
out of Chanhassen, he's one of those guys that he's a dude. He's just a football player. Yeah. You can go measure his size and his weight and his speed. That kid can play football. And so it's interesting for me to watch to see who offers who first and how quickly they follow, right? NSU offers a guy and they all jump on. South Dakota State offers a guy, they all jump on. So it's fun to see. And it's great for the kids up in this part of the country. I've said that from the day that North Dakota State made the decision and everyone else followed to take it up a level and leave Division II. I loved it. And because I thought, what a great chance to give all these kids in the upper Midwest a chance to play at a higher level. I got to say this. I was always surprised to say, okay, 2 schools can do it, Dom, but can 4 schools really be competitive? Is there the talent pool to do that? And I think we're seeing it with some success with North Dakota and obviously South Dakota, that it can be done. I'm actually super excited. I was hoping last week that someone could knock off the Power 5 team, but who knows what South Dakota can do going to Camp Reynolds, because Wisconsin, as much as they got pumped up that they have arrived in year 2 of Luke Fickell, they didn't look great last week.
No, not against
Western
Michigan.
Michigan. That would be fun to see.
I have an email to ask you about this, the Benilde St. Margaret guys, if you've seen them come. Khalif Brown and Chase Brixius, each of them have committed to NDSU. Have you seen either one of those guys play?
Chase. Yeah, I helped Chase a bunch in his recruitment. And so Chase's family and I are close. His dad obviously was a senior when I was a freshman at Minnesota. And so we kind of mapped out what he needed to do. He was one of those guys that was a little bit late on the radar. But because, again, you got to remember, like my son, you're 16, 17, 18. What can happen in 3 months is dramatic. And I kept telling Chase, like, in February, like, you'll be surprised how much stronger he'll be in June, right? We're talking about a 3-month window-ish. And so he was a guy, and again, you guys still got to NDSU guy has to get these guys to signing day and get the ink on the paper.
Right.
He's a guy that's going to have a great senior year, and you never know what happens. But he is a ball player. He can play at a high level. So to me, quite candidly, Dom, that was a steal for NDSU.
You got to tell the story. You're sharing it off air because the Bison are playing Eddie George. You played against Eddie George in your college days.
Yeah, 1995, if you go back and study Big Ten football, people often say that 1995 was maybe one of the strongest years of Big Ten football, which happened to be my senior year, which I don't know if I love that because the teams were tough, right? And I remember going to the Big Ten media day. They brought 2 captains from every team. So I was down there with my captain, Chris Darkins, and you're sitting down with Bobby Ingram and Eddie George, and you're getting to see these guys. And I kind of geeked out on it because I was into it, right? So I'm a guy from Fargo, just like, I can't believe I'm sitting here with these guys, right? Kind of some of my heroes. Not that I didn't play them tough when I played them, but I was, kind of also in a dream world because I was a big-time college football fan. Eddie, happened to have an amazing year, and he was obviously the Heisman Trophy winner in 1995. And I happened to be at an awards dinner picking up a scholarship that I won for postgraduate work in New York the night after he won the Heisman Trophy. So he actually was ushered into this dinner as well and sat next to me looking exhausted, coming off of probably a pretty epic night for him. And then after that, the next day he heads off to LaGuardia Airport, and they made him put the Heisman Trophy through the security, and it broke. It broke off with the hand, right?
Oh, no.
And so he had to order a new Heisman Trophy and get that all figured out. So, but he was an amazing player, and was the only player that even my family would point out, he was the only player that I couldn't catch from behind. The reason why I'm the Fargo Flash is because I had a knack that went all the way back to high school, that it didn't matter what my 40 was. If a guy had broken away, I was going to make a touchdown saving tackle, which unfortunately wasn't the case in the Metrodome in 1995.
It's great to see you, bud. Thanks so much for doing this. We'll do this again later in the football season, okay?
All right, sounds great. Thanks for having me, Dom.
There he is, Justin Conzemius, the Fargo Flash himself, joining us, former Gophers standout linebacker and Fargo South stud, giving us the lowdown on everything going on with the Gophers and Twin City stuff. He's always good to chat with. We'll break. We come back, wrap up hour 1. Big second hour, including NFL picks with my pops. Back on Hot Mic right after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, and Inforum.com.